Welcome to episode No. 9 of Sales with Value.
It's great to be back.
Today we are tackling a subject that I think, it haunts a lot of people in this industry. It's the central mystery of the market, really. You look around and you see these massive dominant companies, the giants. And then you see the others, the ones that start out with promise, but just, they hit a wall.
Plateau.
Yeah.
That point of stagnation.
Exactly. And the question that keeps coming up is why? What actually separates them? I think the easy answer, the one most of us jump to, is just money.
Right. They have deeper pockets.
Yeah, we assume they have these infinite marketing budgets and they can just buy their way to the top. But is that really it? Or is there something more, like a fundamental difference in their mindset?
The source argues it's rarely just about the money. I mean, history is full of well-funded companies that failed to distribute their product.
For sure.
Today, we're unpacking a source that claims to have the answer. It's called The Blueprint for Market Dominance and Distribution Success.
That sounds like a textbook you'd find on a CEO's desk.
Yeah.
In some glass tower.
You'd think so, but here's the twist. This isn't for the boardroom. This deep dive is specifically for the soldiers on the ground, the FMCG snacks distribution salesmen.
The guys on the bikes.
The guys on the bikes, in the vans, the ones navigating traffic to get product on the shelf.
That is a very specific, very gritty focus. I mean, usually these strategy books are all about high-level corporate synergy.
Yeah.
How does that translate to a guy dodging motorcycles on a dusky road?
That is exactly where we need to start. I want you, the listener, to just close your eyes for a second. Forget the air-conditioned conference room.
Okay.
We're setting the scene in the real Indian market. I want you to visualize the heat, the noise, the tea shops with steam rising, the pan-gumtis, those little kiosks on the corner, the crowded bus stands.
I'm there. I can almost smell the chai and the exhaust fumes.
That is the battlefield. And our mission for this deep dive is to decode the specific strategies of those massive companies and, translate them into practical actions for a single salesman working a route in that exact environment.
So we're taking the strategy of a billion-dollar multinational and shrinking it down to fit on the back of a...
On the back of a motorbike, precisely. Because the mechanism of success is the same. It's only the scale that changes.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of this. I want to start with one of the most counterintuitive points in the source material. It's about where you focus your energy. If I'm a salesman with a quota to hit, my instinct is to go hunting for whales. I want the supermarkets, the big retail counters that order 50 cartons at a time.
That's the instinct. It's efficient, right? Drop one big order, hit your number, go home.
Right, but the blueprint says that's a trap.
It calls it the intuitive trap. The source introduces what it calls the strategy of small places. It argues that to become truly massive, you don't start by dominating the big shop.
You start small.
You start by becoming ubiquitous in the small ones.
But wait, isn't that inefficient? I mean, a T-Sol might sell, a few packets a day? A Pan Gum Kai even less. Why would a giant corporation waste time there?
This is where we have to look at the economics of share of mind versus just pure volume. Think about it. How often does the average person go to a big supermarket?
Once a week, maybe. Twice if they forget something.
Exactly. But how often do they pass that tea stall near their office? Or stop at the bus stand? Or walk past the Pan Gum Tea on their way home?
Every single day, sometimes multiple times a day.
Correct. The source emphasizes that big companies understand that market dominance isn't just about moving boxes. It's about being part of the landscape.
I see.
If your product is hanging at the tea stall, the bus stand, and that little hole in the wall, you're creating thousands of visual impressions. You're building your brand in the customer's subconscious.
So it's about frequency
over volume, precisely. And there's another factor. Competition. In a big retailer, you're fighting for shelf space against 20 other brands. It's a war zone. But at a tea stall,
you might be the only snack there.
You have a captured audience. If someone's drinking tea and wants a snack, and you are the only packet hanging there, you win. You win by default.
That makes so much sense. It's share of shelf in a place where the shelf is tiny.
And that creates a perception of size. If a customer sees your product everywhere, at the bus stand, the pan shop, the tea stall, their brain just registers you as a major brand.
Even if you aren't in the supermarket yet.
Exactly. You've surrounded them. It's psychological domination.
So what's the key takeaway here?
The source has this sharp line concept. It says, big companies don't become big through big shops alone. They become big by capturing every small space.
That really flips the script for a salesman planning his route. Instead of driving past the little guys, you realize the little guys are the foundation.
They're the roots. You cut the roots, the tree falls.
Okay, so we're stopping at the Gumtus. But once we walk in, what do? Because this is where I think a lot of us get it wrong. We think sales is about the pitch. You walk in, chest out, get the order, you leave.
The hunter mentality. You want the kill.
Yeah, but the source seems to think that's just, well, wrong.
It's not just wrong, it's counterproductive in this market. The source argues that if you walk in demanding an order right away, you're going to hit a wall. The strategy isn't sales, it's habit formation.
Habit formation. But hold on, if I'm a salesman, I have daily targets. My boss is breathing down my neck. I don't have time to wait for a habit to form. I need to move stock today.
And that pressure is exactly why so many fail. Because you can force an order once, right? You can push. But will that shopkeeper order from you again next week? Probably not. You haven't built a system.
So what's the alternative? How do you sell without selling?
The source breaks this down into a 4-step process. And the sequence is absolute law. You cannot skip steps. Step 1 is visibility.
Just being seen.
The product must be seen. Not sold, just seen. Step 2 is recognition. The customer or shopkeeper identifies what it is. Oh, that's that new spicy chip.
Okay, so they know you exist.
Step 3 is habit. This is the crucial missing link. The customer gets used to seeing it. It becomes part of the scenery, a reliable option. And only then, at step 4, do you get the order.
The order comes last.
It comes last, and here's the key. It comes naturally. The sharp line from the source is, first the habit is formed, then the order comes automatically.
I see. So instead of pushing a rock uphill, you're building a slide.
Yeah.
Once the habit is there, the sales just slide down.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from a transaction to an ecosystem. You aren't forcing the shopkeeper to buy. You're helping him build a habit for his customers. If they are in the habit of buying, the shopkeeper has to order from you.
That actually takes a lot of pressure off. You're not there to battle the shopkeeper. You're there to help him feed a habit.
It changes the whole dynamic. You become a partner, not a pest.
But this brings up a challenge. If we're building habits, we need to be in new places. We can't just keep visiting the same 10 friendly shopkeepers we've known for years.
And that is the hardest hurdle. Stagnation.
This was the part of the research that really hit home for me. The mindset of expansion. Because, let's be honest, it's scary to go into a new area. You have your route, you know the guys.
Yeah.
Why risk going into a new colony where you might get rejected?
It's the comfort zone trap. But the source draws a brilliant parallel here. Think about how a multinational grows. They don't just stay in their home country. They expand into Brazil, then India, then Vietnam.
Right, they're constantly looking for new territory.
Now look at a salesman's route. You have your safe lanes, but what about the next colony over? That's your Brazil, that's your Vietnam.
That's a great way to frame it.
The source asks a very pointed question. If a company can change a country, why can't you change your colony?
Oof. Why can't you change your colony? That puts the responsibility right back on you.
It frames the salesman not as a delivery driver, but as an explorer. If a giant company can do the hard work of entering a foreign market, surely you can turn your bike down a lane you haven't visited before.
It's about breaking that stagnation. We all have that tendency to stay in our safe lanes, literally. We go where we know we'll get a yes.
Comfort is the enemy of growth. The source challenges you to find the thrill in that new area. There's a specific joy in finding a small market or a cluster of shops that no one else has tapped yet.
It's like finding a gold mine everyone else drove right past.
And once you find that territory, you have to hold it. Which brings us to what the source calls the physics of distribution.
We're talking about visibility and coverage again.
Yes, there was a specific rhyme in the source material that sums this up perfectly. It's in Hindi, but the logic is universal. Jo dikha nahi, wo bika nahi.
Tu dikha nahi, wo bika nahi. So, translated, if it isn't seen, it isn't sold.
It sounds simplistic, doesn't it?
It does. And I feel like a lot of people push back on this. They say, well, what about marketing or quality? If my product is delicious, won't people ask for it?
That's the propaganda trap. The source distinguishes between reach and propaganda. Propaganda is TV ads, billboards. That's great for awareness. But reach is what happens when you put your hand in your pocket.
Right.
Think about it. You're at a bus stand, you're hungry, you have 5 minutes, you see a packet of chips hanging right in front of your face, but you remember a TV ad for a different brand. But that other brand isn't here. Which one do you buy?
I buy the one in front of my face. I'm not running 3 blocks for a different chip.
Exactly. Availability trumps brand loyalty in impulse buys. Reach wins every time. If the physical product isn't interrupting the customer's line of sight, it is not in their mind.
And this connects to competition, right? Because I hear salesmen complain all the time about the other brand's discounts or their bigger posters.
The source says, don't fight them directly, beat them by outcovering them.
Outcover them. So instead of matching their price, just make sure you're in places they aren't.
Precisely. If your product is in 100% of the shops, from the big retailer to the tiny gum tea, and the competitor is only in 60% because they're ignoring the small ones, where is the competition?
In 40% of the market, they just don't exist.
Correct. Where coverage is 100%, competition naturally becomes weak. You suffocate them with availability.
That is ruthless. I love it. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being thorough.
Thoroughness is a weapon.
But let me play devil's advocate. I know someone's listening thinking, easy for you to say. Some routes are just bad. Some guys get the rich neighborhoods. Success is just luck.
The source tackles this head-on. It completely rejects the luck hypothesis.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. But how can you deny luck?
Those are variables, but how you manage them is a system. The source introduces the concept of vyavasta.
Vyavasta. That translates to system or arrangement, right?
Yes. System, order, organization. It says success is not a lottery ticket. It is a vyavasta. It's an analytical approach.
So what does that look like in practice?
Imagine you're looking at a map of your territory. A lucky salesman sees places I go. A systematic salesman looks at the map and sees the white space.
The gaps.
He asks specific questions. Why are there no orders on this street? Here's a cluster of 20 houses. Where are they buying their snacks? Where is the hidden opportunity?
This requires looking at your route map like a general looks at a battlefield map. You're looking for the dry patches.
Exactly. If you see 3 streets with no orders, that's not bad luck. That's a gap in your system.
Yeah.
That's a target for tomorrow.
It's taking radical responsibility for your territory.
And vyavasta also means listening to the market. This is a subtle point. Big companies don't just force the same product everywhere, they listen.
Give me an example.
A systematic salesman notices the tea stall near the college sells more spicy snacks, but the shop near the hospital sells more plain biscuits.
So you adapt. You don't just dump the same inventory everywhere and hope for the best.
Correct. You listen to the shopkeeper. You listen to the area. That is vyavasta. The sharp line here was, progress comes from method, not from luck.
It's empowering, isn't it? Because if it were luck, you couldn't control it. But if it's a method, you can learn it. You can master it.
Which brings us to the core message. This blueprint isn't just about selling snacks, it's about self-perception.
Yeah, let's talk about that feeling of being small. Because I think a lot of salesmen feel, well, small. Like a tiny cog in a giant machine.
That's the mental barrier. But the main feeling of this deep dive is this. The listener, you are not small.
Even if you're just one person on a bike.
Especially if you're one person on a bike. The source reframes the role completely. You're doing the exact same work as a multinational corporation. They analyze markets.
You analyze your route.
They expand into new territories.
They expand into new lanes.
They build supply chains to ensure availability.
You ensure the product is on the shelf at the gum tea.
It is the exact same mechanism, just a different scale. You aren't delivering packets. You are the CEO of your territory.
That's amazing. When you think of it that way, the job changes. You aren't working for the company. You are the company in that area.
Precisely. And when your thinking becomes big, the territory no longer feels small. You stop seeing a small lane and you start seeing an expansion market. You stop seeing a small shop and see a habit formation center.
Habit formation center. I like that. It gives dignity to the location.
It changes how you treat the shopkeeper and it changes how you treat yourself.
So let's bring this down to the pavement. What does this mean for our listener tomorrow morning?
It means they should look at the world differently. Don't look for the easy wins. Look for the white space. Look for the gaps. Look for that tea stall you've ignored for 3 months because it looked too small.
Because that tea stall is the seed of your next big account.
Exactly. And remember the thought from the source. Change your thinking, and your territory will expand on its own.
Because you'll see opportunities that were invisible before. The map didn't change, your eyes did.
Indeed. It's about realizing the power is in your hands. You don't need a bigger budget. You just need a bigger perspective.
That is a fantastic place to land. It's been a fascinating look at how the giants operate.
It was a pleasure to unpack this.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with the final moral of the story, straight from our source material. And I think this sums it all up perfectly.
Go for it.
Success isn't about the size of your company, but the size of your reach. Even the biggest empire is built one small shop at a time.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go out there and conquer your colony. We'll see you in the next one.